Hey, how is everybody doing today? Listen, prayer empowers me, but writing releases me. So um happy Thursday is March 18th, 2021. It's another day the Lord's made. We should rejoice and glad in it. So 7:45 this morning looks like 12:02 p.m. now. I'm on my lunch break and I wanted to come in really quick to share with you beautiful people what I wanted to share this morning. I was up when I made the post that I was coming on. And then I'm telling you right now, I couldn't come on. So, for those of you who I posted last night that on Tuesday, I was in a group. It's called Unleash Creativity with Mr. Cole Diaz. It's a Facebook group if you're interested in joining. She's a very knowledgeable woman of the Lord, and she is an amazing cook. When I couldn't go home for Thanksgiving, she opened her doors to me and fed me well. That's not the reason why I connected with her though, but I connected with her prior to that. But she has been a great source of encouragement for me. So we talked about JL, the quiet storm. That was the teaching that I took from. She's doing a Woman of Valor series. So I've been in Judges and I was reading it last night. And then I kept reading it over, like, well, Lord, I don't really understand what you're saying. So I'm gonna be coming from Judges 7 and Judges 8. Okay. So my name is Simone, the student teacher. I help educators and leaders tell their story through written and verbal communication. I predominantly help women 50 and older to tell their stories after years of being silent. So if you want to get a book published, you want to share your story, you can hook up and connect with the student teacher. So I'm gonna read real quick, and I won't say real quick, but I'm gonna read Judges 7, and I'm gonna give you what I understand from this, and I'm gonna read Judges 8, where this title comes from. Who's mad at you? Who's upset at you? Who is feeling some type of way with you, and they've done more than you. They've accomplished more than you. They've been more places than you've been, right? And this wasn't something that I was looking for. This wasn't something that I was trying to come and make a post about to say, hey, whatever. But this is what I was reading. I got some really good knowledge and information that I want to share with you guys because I believe it's going to be very beneficial. I don't know how many of you ever got woken up at a very, what you would consider inconvenient time. We talked about this before, like the inconvenient obedience. Hey, Nita, what's happening? Inconvenience obedience, right? Sometimes it's not convenient when God says, hey, let me speak to you or let me talk to you, right? So here is Judges 7. So we're going to be reading Judges 7 and Judges 8, and hopefully I can finish it within the next 10 minutes because then I'm about to go. But Judges 7 says it's Gideon defeats the Midianites, right? And I know a lot of times people stray away from reading large verses of scripture or large chapters because they feel like people are going to lose interest. Well, listen, this is the word of the Lord. If you lose interest in the word of the Lord, my God. Here we go with Judges chapter 7. It says, so Jerubbaal, that is Gideon, and his army got up early and went as far as the spring of Harod. The armies of Midian were camped north of them in the valley near the hill of Morah. And I know some people say they don't like to read the King James Version. It's not even King James Version. But I heard a lot of people say they don't want to read it because they don't understand, and then they don't understand some of these names. The more you practice, the better you become at something. Being a reading teacher, I stress that to students. The more you practice reading, the better you become. And if this is your first time reading it, then you're probably going to stumble over the words, right? You have too many warriors with you. If I let all of you fight the Midianites, the Israelites will boast to me that they saved themselves by their own strength. Therefore, tell the people, whoever is timid or afraid may leave this mountain and go home. So the first thing I want to encourage you guys is if you're rolling with people who are timid, if you're rolling with people who are afraid, leave them at their house. If God is giving you an instruction to do something and people are too scary to carry it out, leave them at their house. Therefore, tell the people, whoever is timid or afraid may leave this mountain. Don't be upset with people. Don't feel some way about people. If they're afraid and timid, which they have the right to be for whatever reason, whatever circumstance and situation, you leave them at their house, right? So 22,000 of them went home, leaving only 10,000 who were willing to go. Okay. So this preceding verse, and I'm looking at my phone because I wrote my notes this morning when I was up, right? The preceding chapter 7 is where God instructs Gideon to go and fight, but he had too many people. Some of us have too many people around us. Some of us, we have all this entourage and all this stuff. You got too many people. Let some people go, right? And there were certain characteristics of people that God was looking to send with Gideon. So then it left 10,000 people. But the Lord told Gideon, there is still too many. Bring them down to the spring, and I will test them to determine who will go with you and who will not. So sometimes you might say, well, dang God, and I'm talking about for seminary, like, dang God, I don't really talk to a whole bunch of people. I ain't really got a whole lot of people in my circle. And then you might come back and say, you still got too many. You still got too many. So then he says, listen, I'm going to test them. I want you to bring them down to the brook, and I'm going to let you know who you should keep and who you should not keep. So he says, when Gideon took his warriors down to the water, the Lord told him, divide the men into 2 groups. And sometimes what you have to do is you have to kind of test the people that's around you to see. This is what I always do. And for some of you who listen like, oh man, I wonder if she did it to me. This is what I always do. When I'm trying to test the faithfulness or test the trustworthy of something to somebody, like this is the first time I've ever trusted them with something. If I hear it again, I know I can't trust them again. Because I will tell it to only one person. If it comes back to me, I know I can never trust him because I ain't told nobody else, right? So God is trusting. He says, listen, hey, Miss Joyce, listen, divide the men into 2 groups. In one group, put all those who cup water in their hands and lap it with their tongues like dogs. In the other group, put all those who kneel down and drink with their mouths in the stream. So it's almost like you had like the men who showed more mannerisms in public versus the men who was kind of a little more dignified and proper, right? And he says only 300 of the men drank from their hands, right? So the ones who kind of just however you get water out of a spring, right? All the other got down on their knees and drank with their mouths in the stream. The Lord told Gideon, with these 300 men, I will rescue you and give you victory over the Midianite. So what probably seemed to kind of be men who were a little rough around the edges, men who, were improper in public, those are the ones God said, hey, these are the ones that I'm going to take with victory. Now, let me go back to my phone real quick. Everybody can't go because they don't have the characteristics that God is looking for. Right. I know we want everybody who got it all together, and we Photoshop and put our pictures and our best stuff on social media. And when you step out, you present your best self. Right. Everybody want people who got it together. Right. But God knows our hearts. So maybe a person that you've been gleaning from or looking from, or, in your family, maybe they don't have it all together like people think they should. But God says that's the person who has the characteristic that I'm looking for that's going to go with you. Because sometimes the people that you think or look a certain way, God says no, because I don't want them to take the credit for what I'm doing in your life. Sometimes people will absolutely try to take the credit take the credit for what God is doing in your life. So he says you have to get rid of them. Sissy poo. God says, listen, because they're going to take the credit, they can't go with you. So I don't know who in your circle, in your corner right now, who is watching you grow, watching you bloom, watching you come out that situation. And they're sitting back and saying, yep, when she come out, yep, when he come out. Look, I'm going to tell her, girl, if it wasn't for me, you wouldn't have been able to do whatever. Derek, hey, guys, listen, tonight, you see this man right here tonight, I'm going to be on this show talking about Pretty Hill, right? So the Lord told Gideon, with these 300 men, I will rescue you and give you victory over the Midianites. Send all the others home. So remember in the beginning, he says, listen, if they are afraid, if they timid, just tell them to leave the mountain. We ain't mad. We ain't upset. We ain't going to talk about you. We ain't going to make no post about you. We ain't going to be passive aggressive towards you. We ain't going to do none of that. You just go home, right? You go home, enjoy your family, do whatever you do, right? So he says, send those people home. Let me put the TV on pause, right? But he kept the 300 men with him. I'm not going to be able to finish this because I got to go back to work. The Midianite camp was in the valley just below Gideon. That night, the Lord said, get up, go down into the Midianite camp, for I've given you victory over them. Remember, he's with the 300 men who didn't look like, they was all proper and prim, and, they probably wasn't like the the in the who's of who type of club, right? They probably didn't even sit in the deacon section of the church house, right? But he says those men right there are the ones that's gonna go to battle for you. Listen to what the Midianites are saying, and you will be greatly encouraged. Then you will be eager to attack. So God says, listen, I want you to go down here to where you're about to attack, and you're gonna eavesdrop a little bit, right? And once you, hey, cousin Sheena, once you eavesdrop real quick, you're gonna hear them. They're gonna say something that's gonna confirm what I told you. So what they did when he went down there, they said, so Gideon took Para and went down to the edge of the enemy camp. The armies of the Midian, Amalek, and the people of the east had settled in the valley like a swarm of locusts. Their camels were like grains of the sand on the seashore, too many to count. Gideon crept up just as a man was telling his companion about a dream. The man said, I had this dream, and in my dream, a loaf of barley bread came tumbling down to the Midianite camp. It hit a tent, turned it over, and knocked flat. His companion answered, your dream can mean only one thing. God has given Gideon, son of Joash, the Israelite, victory over Midian and all his allies. So, you know, sometimes people say God will use people to confirm. If he already told you something, he may put somebody in your path and they say something that you like, God, that's it. So he says, listen, I want you to go down here to this camp. You're going to ear hustle a little bit, see what they say, and it's going to confirm to you that I've already given you victory. So, hey, he go back to the camp and say, look at here, God done gave us victory. So then he says, listen, he goes back to his 300 men, right? And these 300 men that's lapping water like a dog, right? He says, listen, I want you to do what I want. I'm going to model for you what I want you to do during battle. We have to be around people. One, we have to be teachable. And two, we have to be around other people who are willing to be teachable, right? So he says, listen, keep your eyes on me. You got to be able to watch the leader. You got to be able to follow the leader. When I come to the edge of the camp, do just as I do. As soon as I and those who blow the ram's horn, blow your horns too, all around the entire camp, and shout for the Lord and for Gideon. It was just after midnight, after the changing of the guard, when Gideon and the 100 men with him reached the edge of the Midianite camp. Now, right before that, this is what he said. He says, when Gideon heard the dream and interpretation, he bowed and worshiped before the Lord. He bowed and worshiped before the Lord. Then he returned to the Israelite camp and shouted, get up, for the Lord has given you victory over the Midianite horses. He divided the 3 men into 3 groups and gave each man a ram's horn, a clay jar with a torch in it. Now, sometimes when we so smart, that's why, like, one thing Lord told me about how to reach teachers is just love them. Because, you know, when some people are so smart with all this education, all this degree, they could be so smart. Sometimes it just don't make sense, right? So he had to get these men because, remember, God knew their hearts. He knew they would be obedient. He knew they would follow. And he knew that whatever, it may not look like it's much. It may not look like it's going to make sense, but they trust the leader, so they're going to do what he says do. So you keep reading. Each man stood at his position around the camp and watched as all the Midianites rushed around in a panic, shouting as they ran off. So they did what Gideon told them to do, and then they had victory. Then there was 2 kings, and I gotta go, so I can't even finish 8. I really can't even get into what this post was about. But they get victory, and then 2 of the kings that killed his brother, they escape in chapter 8. And at the top of chapter 8, that's when it was another clan named the people of Ephraim. They told Gideon, why have you treated us this way? Why didn't you send for us when you first went out to fight the Midianites? And then he says, but Gideon replied, what have I accomplished compared to you? And this is where it brought me to right here. Like, some people are upset with you because they wanted to be a part of the victories that you have, but they got many more victories than you. They want to be a part of this new thing that you're doing, this new win that you got, but they done did thousands of wins without you. So don't be dismayed when people start acting funny, people start tripping, people start having all things to say because you didn't include them. But you can't include somebody if God told you to exclude them. Sometimes I feel like we try to be loyal to people when God done said that ain't somebody I want you to be loyal to. You got to make sure that the people that you're with, the people that you align with, are the people that God says go with. And it's not even that I heard someone say this to me before. People are not necessarily bad people. Sometimes they just may not be good for us. Sometimes people are not bad people. They just may not be good for you and where you going. They can very well be an asset to somebody else, and they can very well be a liability to you. So it's not even about looking at the outside appearance anymore. It's about the heart of people. You got to look at the heart, and only God can discern and tell us that. He says that our hearts are desperately wicked. Above all, who can know it but him. So I love you guys today. I'm gonna come back and finish this because this is good to me, and then I can go through the rest of my notes because I told you I was up this morning, so I have plenty more to share. But I gotta go. Love you guys. Listen tonight at 7 o'clock. Some of my students see me on IG talking about, "Oh, you on IG? I see you tonight somewhere at 7 o'clock." Helping other brothers out. Derek is here. I think he's still here. I'm gonna be on his show tonight, 7 o'clock, talking about Pretty Hill. Come. It's gonna be good. Okay. Love you guys. Bye, Miss George, Sheena, my cousin Derek, Nita, and all you beautiful people. Peace out.